Formula 1 may only just have transformed itself with all new technical regulations, but work is already well underway on its next revolution. The plans for the 2026 power units, the introduction of which looks set to bring Porsche and Audi into F1, have been talked about for some time and are close to being finalised. But the rules for the chassis, and in particular the all-important aerodynamics, have been more of a blank sheet until now. After all, F1 has had the chance to learn from the early races under the 2022 ground effect car rules, and following a meeting of the F1 Commission earlier this week, has laid out what it calls preliminary targets for the 2026 chassis rules. The 6 targets are based on simulation work conducted by the FIA's aerodynamic departments and have been conceived not only to improve the quality of the racing on track, but also work best with the next generation power units. Of course, so far these are just targets, and we don't yet know exactly how they will be achieved. In fact, despite having some basic ideas, even the FIA won't be certain how they will deliver on these aims. But it means that we now have a clear picture of what to expect from F1's next overhaul in 2026. Target 1. Reduced drag. The FIA's first objective is to achieve significantly reduced drag to improve sustainability and efficiency and complement the power unit characteristics. Reduced drag means better fuel efficiency and also ensures that any loss in horsepower from the 2026 power units will be offset. The new engines will no longer feature the MGU-H, and it's possible that the commitment to switch to engines that are more reliant on the hybrid system and utilise a 100% sustainable fuel will cost some power. Reduced drag could also be a consequence of further reducing the sensitivity to turbulence while following another car, although that's far from certain. It should also be noted that reducing the drag will likely further reduce the slipstream effect, which has already got weaker this year under the 2022 rules. Target 2. Maintain and improve ability to follow. F1 2022's regulations have made it easier to follow. The laws of physics means there's always going to be some effect, but by making the aerodynamics of the cars less sensitive and better controlling the weight coming off them, things have improved this year. The fact the 2022 regulations have been a qualified success has proved that the research conducted and the methodology for changing the regulations to improve the ability to follow has not been a failure. The question is, can that progress be built on? The second target is extremely vague, but it is only meant to be an objective, so the question is how the FIA will go about changing the rules to improve this. The FIA and F1 are accumulating a vast amount of real-world data about the behaviour of these cars. This will allow them to evaluate what changes have worked as hoped, what aspects didn't succeed, and the unexplored areas where gains can be made. F1 therefore has the ultimate laboratory for testing its process and assumptions. Nobody can object to the desire to further improve what Ross Brawn calls the raceability of the cars. The question now is how to build on the success of the switch to ground effect aero this year. Targets 3 and 4. More compact, lighter cars. The third and fourth targets are so closely connected that they have to be considered as one. The size and weight of F1 cars has come in for increasing criticism over the past decade, with the minimum weight increasing by 31% from 2009 to 2022. The minimum weight this year is 798 kilograms, an increase of 46 kilos compared to 2021. The increase over the years is a result of multiple factors: the switch to hybrid engines, Meteor safety features such as the halo and the 18-inch wheel rims among them. The growing size of the cars, with the width limit increased from 1.8 metres to 2 metres as part of the high downforce regulations in 2017, and the desire for ever longer cars for aero reasons has also played a part in this. Although the maximum wheelbase length was reduced to 3.6 metres this year, these are still enormous cars. The wording of these two objectives is perfunctory, and it's important to note that the desire to reduce the mass of the car is expressed as reduce or contain. But this is the first time F1 has formalised these as objectives. This is significant because the rising size and weight has always been the consequence of other priorities. This time, F1 has made smaller, lighter cars one of its key aims. More on F1's plans for 2026 in a moment, but first, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the thumbs up, whether or not you like the FIA's ideas for F1's next generation cars. And so you never miss anything from the race, hit the subscribe button. Target 5. Economic and environmental sustainability. Measures such as the cost cap have got F1 spending under control, and F1 wants to continue to build on this. There's also the desire to use more sustainable materials as F1 moves towards its target of being net carbon zero by 2030. This is a very broad target, but a good one, and will continue to push F1 down the path it has already embarked on. Even in the short term, there is progress being made on this, with the F1 Commission also approving a plan to trial 2 events next year with 11 sets of slick tyres available rather than the usual 13 to evaluate how this impacts the on-track action. The FIA is also keen to increase the number of standard supply components after pushback from teams led to this list being reduced from the initial plans in 2022. This is likely to be a key political battleground as the regulations are hammered out in detail, but with the teams themselves also committed to various environmental targets and keen to build their own value as profitable organisations, everyone will be aligned on this target. Target 6. Safety improvements, including active and connected systems. Given the FIA has been at the forefront of safety improvements in F1 for decades, including this on its list of objectives for 2026 is hardly news. But what is interesting is the reference to active and connected safety systems. Active safety systems on road cars use sensors and related technology either to avoid or mitigate accidents. F1 car speeds mean the way these are used will be somewhat different, but there are gains to be made in this area. And by connecting live data streams, it should also be possible to create either warning systems or even direct interventions that could reduce the risk of accidents in certain situations. Exactly what this will lead to is unclear, and it's not going to result in emergency braking systems kick in if you get too close to another car at traffic lights. But anything that makes F1 more safe while preserving the integrity of the racing is to be welcomed. Power unit rules. F1's engine regulations are far closer to being complete, but given the car objectives are conceived to work with the new power units, they go hand in hand. The MGU-H, which converts waste heat in the exhaust to electrical energy, will be dropped, but electrical power output is increasing from the current 120 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts. That's over 469 brake horsepower from the electric motor. There's also a cost cap, which is currently a contentious topic that's still being argued over, particularly in relation to potential newcomers Porsche and Audi. The FIA has also promised a switch to 100% sustainable fuel, as well as the desire to protect the show with a powerful and high-revving engine, albeit without too much performance difference between the manufacturers. The engine regulations will be finalised first, but the FIA has now signalled its intention to push on with laying out the chassis rules. Now the rulemakers know roughly what they're trying to do, comes the difficult bit of working out exactly how to achieve it.